Alright, so I have my summary on COVID-19 may be a blood driven disease. And some notes that I found through the article is that COVID-19 was thought to just affect the lungs rather than the bloodstream. And a driven fact that was seen that the youth was dying from COVID-19 rather than the elderly and people with respiratory problems. And since the youth were dying, they found that the youth died from more blood clot driven areas in the body to be compromised. 40% of deaths from COVID-19 were infected by blood clots. So this led scientists to think a little bit more in depth about the disease, and that the fact that this could not just affect the lungs, that it can affect the blood that runs throughout our bodies. Some uncommon symptoms of COVID-19 consist of blood clots, kidney damage, strokes, inflammation of the heart, and more of those uncommon are becoming more common, which is affecting how we look at this disease. The more data that is gathered adds on to the virus, and that shows that the virus does affect the blood vessels and will be a blood-driven virus instead of a lung-breathing respiratory virus. The virus, if someone is contracting COVID-19, they tend to contract it both through breathing and through contact with people, and it makes its way through the lungs. But how we're seeing it being identified as a blood-driven virus is that it destroys the lungs, and the tissue that outlines the lungs is like slowly deteriorating. So that's the way that blood gets in, and that's how the blood is moving around and basically spreading COVID through the body. The blood vessels that are damaged could explain why people have underlying health conditions and how people are more at risk to getting COVID if they do have those underlying conditions with a breakdown of the lungs and the respiratory system. So that's all I have.